Hey, welcome to another edition of Cooking with #Brant. Today I'm going to make some seafood chowder. I'm going to grab the camera off the tripod and bring it over so I can show you what I've got for ingredients for those of you who are wondering. All right, so, wow, I'm a crappy cameraman. All right, so I've got some yellow onions, I've got corn, baby clams, butter, rosemary, thyme. If you don't have enough thyme, I have some. Thyme, I have wild Pacific shrimp, I have some lobster meat, I have some swordfish steaks that were on sale that we tried and we liked, but I'm going to use those in the chowder for something different. We have some scallops, and I have some Supreme seafood mix, which is right here. I have some milk, and I have some whipping cream, which I use for heavy cream. I have some parsley, I've got some fine herbs, I've got some New England clam chowder mix. Now the reason I use that is for a thickener, and I've got some smoked sea salts. This bacon was like $14 for this package, but this is a kg, and I looked at the price per kg of this bacon versus the other packages like the 500 grams and the 375 grams. This is cheaper. So if you see this in the store or something like it and it's like 13 or 14 or even 15, look at the price per kg. This was actually cheaper, and I'm going to fry it up and put it in the chowder, so the fact that I actually got it cheaper per kg worked out for me. So, and potatoes. I forgot the potatoes. Are you kidding me? Potatoes. I'm going to use it what we got for potatoes. So I'm going to start getting some stuff chopped up. I have no idea what, if I turn this around. Hey, look at that. I can see myself. So I'm going to chop up some of the onions first. I'm going to put some butter in, and I'm going to start getting the onions sauteed a little bit in the butter. That's how I always start with my seafood chowder. So I'm going to get that started, and then I'll be back for more. So I've got the onions in there. I'll give them a little stir. I've got the butter in there. The two onions that you saw, that's what I've got in here, and I put about 1/4 cup of butter. If you're keeping track, I just sort of do it by feel. When you look at that, you might think it's a lot of onions for a chowder, but the onions, remember, they're going to cook down, so they're not going to take up as much space as what you see here. So I'm going to add a little mixture I've got right here. I'm going to sprinkle that in. I like to put some seasonings in when we're at this stage, because that gets mixed right in with the butter. It starts cooking those ingredients and starts getting them. It smells really good for starters. And what I've put in there, just so you know, is there's some pepper, the thing of fine herbs, and the fine herbs, in case you're wondering what's in the fine herbs, it's a blend of parsley, chives, and tarragon. My in-laws brought that back from Ontario years ago. I've been using it for a long time. Some smoked sea salts my sister-in-law sent to me, and some parsley flakes, some parsley flakes, and a little bit of salt I put in there too, just regular salt, just to start giving that a nice, it's got a beautiful flavor, or a beautiful, I'm sure it's going to have a beautiful flavor eventually. It's got a beautiful smell, beautiful scent right now. It smells great. Aroma is the word I was looking for. Yeah, so you let that start cooking up. You want to cook that down just till you start seeing some changes in your onions. When they start sort of getting transparent, you can start seeing through them a little bit. And when we get to that stage, then I'm going to add some other ingredients. Okay, so I forgot to put some rosemary in when I was putting my herbs and stuff in with my onion, but I have rosemary leaves, so they're fairly big pieces. So I've got my mortar and pestle. You can take something like that, put it in your mortar and pestle, and you can grind it right down. It doesn't take very long because they're dry. So you can take some rosemary from those leaves and grind it down like so. I see some bigger pieces in there still. There you go. So I'm going to pop that in there too. Rosemary is really good in a chowder. Pardon me. Stir that around here. Alright, there we go. It's great for combining ingredients too. If you had something that you wanted to let's tip this up a little bit there. There we go. It's terrible when you don't have a cameraman or camera person. If you had a couple of different things that you wanted to put together to make your own a flavor, mortar and pestle, you can typically pick them up at cooking places, places that sell cooking supplies and stuff like that. Ooh, this is ready for some more stuff. Yeah, well, let's just do it right now. All right. So my onions are starting to brown up a little bit. So let's get a look at this here. All right, there we go. So you can see they've got a nice color on them. They're starting to brown up. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to cut up some potatoes, but for now I'm going to pour a little bit of water in there just to give it a chance to keep stuff. It'll pull the flavor out and it'll keep it from sticking and getting too brown and burning on me. Okay, so I added a little bit of water, like I said, to my onions, and they're bubbling away nicely over there. And I'm going to add some whole milk, because when I make chowder, I use whole milk. Probably a couple of cups worth. I cut up some potatoes. Throw them in there. And all I'm going to do at this point is let those potatoes, I'm going to let those potatoes, I've got it set to 3, so it's sort of a medium low. I'm going to let them sit there and just sort of bubble away a little bit. Getting the potatoes to cook in the milk gives them a nice creamy flavor. And in the meantime, I'm going to cook up some bacon. My cameraman is actually here and he's cooking some hot dogs. So once he's done with hot dogs, I'm going to cook some bacon. And then I'll add some other ingredients after that. All right, so I added just a little bit more milk. I'm going to bring this over. Can you tilt that down so we can see it? There, Mr. Cameraman. Can you see that? Is it good?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I've added, I probably in total, I've got about, let's say about 4 cups of milk in there. And I've taken the New England clam chowder mix, which some people might be like, well, that's cheating. That's just a dry mix of soup that you're reconstituting. The reason I use this, typically what you use to thicken chowder is flour. And it works. It's fine. But flour doesn't have any other flavor other than flour flavor. So when I use this, you get there's some dried onions in there. There's some other ingredients that they throw in there. It smells good. It's got that nice flavor. So before things get too hot, that's when I add that in. Like I say, it's about 1/4 cup or so. Stir it in. Let it get added. Let your temperature come up a little bit. Then it starts simmering. And you'll know whether it's thick enough for you or not. You can add a little bit more. You could add a little bit less if you like. That's something that helps build some flavor on there. Flavor builder. Yeah. Hey, okay. So, we've started simmering quite nicely here with the potatoes. I'm just going to tip this camera in. Beat and thrash the legs around. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. Hey, let's just do a top-down view. Oh, yeah, and there's the lid shaking around. Might have to take that out. So, what happens when stuff starts simmering away? My son's laughing at me because take it up.
I actually cannot demonstrate how stupid this is because he's got like the friggin' tripod
take a picture.
Held up.
Grab your phone and take a picture.
I have my phone. It's downstairs.
Oh, well.
Give me 2 minutes.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. We're starting to thicken up, as you can see. So what happens is things start to stick a little bit on the bottom. So what you want to do, I want to set this back up now. what you want to do is you want to keep an eye on it. If you're going to cook, you got to stay in the kitchen. That's the rule, right? So you stir that up real nice, and what? It's all right. Fire it up. I'll do it again, and then we can put it as a promo on. So you'll see this picture first, and then you'll get the video later on. So yeah. So I was doing this to get a good shot of. There we go.
I'm actually taking a video while you're taking a video.
What? Well, you gotta take a picture too, and then we can throw it on the Facebook page. So you'll see this picture first, and then you'll get the video later on. So yeah, so I was doing this to get a good shot of. There we go.
I'm actually taking a video while you're taking a video.
Well, you gotta take a picture too. So the bad habit of forgetting to add stuff and then adding it later on. That's how I cook. So the great big giant container of thyme that I have, I forgot to put some in, so I threw some in just before I fired up the videotape. So I've added all of the herbs and spices, so I'm going to add at this point. This is thickening up very nicely. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to start taking some of the fish and the scallops and that type of stuff. They're still partially frozen. This happens to me every time, but it doesn't matter. Cutting them up into small pieces, throwing them in. My bacon is cooking. We got to get a shot of the bacon here. Bacon. The bacon cam. Is it blurry? I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's bacon. Who cares if it's blurry? So I've added some of the swordfish, and I'm going to throw some haddock in, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video I had. I actually forgot that I had it in the freezer. I cut the swordfish up into fairly decent sized chunks. Let's see if I can show you here. Good sized chunk like so, because I'm not entirely sure. I've never put swordfish into a seafood chowder before, so I'm not sure if it's going to flake on me and get into end up being smaller pieces. So I'm going to add some of the haddock as well. I've cut that up. I've thrown that in, and then I'm going to put some shrimp on a separate pan and start cooking it up. The shrimp I got was raw, so I'd like to have it cooked up nicely. Take the tails off, make sure they're deveined well, and then throw them in. So I've added the bacon. I've chopped it up into, it was a thicker cut bacon, so I've chopped it up into pieces about so big, and just added that right in there. Just get that camera right up there. I have also added some celery. You may have noticed that. And the fish is cooking up nicely. Staying in a little bigger chunk than I would normally like to see, but that's okay. When you're making stuff like this, a lot of it for me is there's certain things I put in, but then there's a certain amount of sort of flying by the seat of your pants, so to speak. Which is fine by me. It typically always turns out. So I've taken my shrimp, which I had way too much of, but we'll deal with that later, and I've added them there. I've put a little bit of butter in. Ooh, thump thump. And I'll keep an eye on them. Once I get them done, I'll pop the tails off, and I'll put as many of them as I can handle in there, because I still have clams to add. I still have a can of corn to add, and I still have one of the most important ingredients, lobster meat to add in, and let's not forget another thing of the scallops, and that's going to fill that pot right to the brim. Happens to me every single time. I always think, oh, I'm going to make just a moderate size. I always end up with way more, but it's not a bad thing. And hopefully the leftovers this time will actually make it to the fridge, and we'll be able to eat them, and I won't end up spilling them on the floor. Okay, so we're coming along pretty good here. I'm going to give it a shot down in there. Give it a little stir. Looks like the swordfish kept its shape pretty good. So I've got some fairly big chunks of fish in there, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The shrimp are coming along beautifully. Right over here, the shrimp cam. I'm going to pop those off. In a very short period of time, I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. I'll get another shot of everything all in together. Maybe some shots of me adding some of it, stirring it in. And then it's just a matter, once you get everything added, for me, is I just let it simmer. I turn it down nice and low, let those flavors all just, you know, get pulled right in together with everything that you've added. And it just, that you know, keep an eye on it, don't let it stick, but let it cook nice and slow, and just everything gets a chance to gel together. And that's when you get those flavors out of dishes like this, where you're adding so many ingredients. You want everything to come together and make that seafood chowder the best it can be. All right, so let's get this all finalized up. I'm gonna move the camera over here so you can see what's going on. You really don't need to see me. You can hear me, that's what's important. Let me see the pot. Now we can see the pot. There we go. So I'm adding in my canned clams. And the reason I'm adding things like the clams and the lobster, which I'm going to add next, they're already cooked. The lobster meat is cooked. It's thawed as good as I can get it. Most of it is minced, although there are some nice claw pieces in there as well. So I'm going to put that in. It really just needs to continue thawing and add to the flavor. And the same with the clams. Those clams are cooked when they're canned. They really just need to heat up. Every little bit of it in there. Yeah. And then my can of corn. I drain out the clams and the corn. I don't need to add any more liquid. I've got plenty there now. Add that all in like so. That's everything. That is my seafood chowder right there. Hopefully I will not spill it, as I said earlier. No guarantees. Maybe I'll get somebody else to take it downstairs today. Oh, look at that. It's just brimming with so many different seafood options in there. This is going to be one delicious meal for supper. So, alrighty, very good. Thanks for sticking around with me again and watching all this foolishness and cooking tips from #Brant. I enjoy cooking stuff like this, and especially dishes like this where you're combining so much stuff. Chili is something that I will, if I haven't already done it, I can't remember what I did last time. Regardless, I'll probably do chili a second time anyway, even if I have done it before. So thanks very much, and keep looking for more in the coming year. Bye-bye.